you're saying to me, you're basically saying to me about the actions of the people.
Yeah.
Like
as a collective, as a group,
as a nation, Britain in our particular.
Let's make it
case.
straight. The Freemasons and Zionists, mainly the Zionists, are like ruling the world.
Yeah.
And
Tottenham.
Mucker Ryan says, and I agree with him, that they're all diminutive characters.
They're all feeble.
But the thing is,
feeble little men.
The thing is, individualism makes us weak because you can be as strong as you fuck and strong as you like, but what gives these people the strength is that they're all together as one, as a collective, and they work for each other, and they work to benefit each other, and benefit themselves by benefiting each other. Isn't it?
That's the old IQ, innit?
That's it. It's like strength in numbers. But like you can't have strength in numbers when every cunt's watching Love Island on the nice fucking lazy boy city and fucking.
Everyone's too comfortable. They put us in this position.
Do you know what I mean?
They put us in that position. Do you know? It's like Saul Alinsky's 8 Steps to Socialism. Back to that. You know, it was talking about welfare and stuff.
But it's a nasty socialism. But yeah, that's it. You're right. There's lots of socialisms in there. But then the Saul Alinsky socialism is like a complete destruction of the state, and it's that is what'll happen.
My whole point with this situation is right. You're not going to see anything out of anyone while they're making things cosy for us all, like the fair law and stuff. Like for me, if they took the fair law away and stuff like that, you might see more of a reaction out of people.
Yeah, might see men rise.
They know exactly what they're doing. Like you said to me before about working on site with your mates and that, a few of them was keen to go on the fair law, weren't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because he used to comfort out.
That in itself just tells you all you need to know.
Grown men.
Grown men just want to be at home, you know. Netflix, Love Island, Netflix and chill and all that. You know.
Out to watch on Netflix, pal.
It's like while these systems are in place, they know exactly what they're doing. While these systems are in place, that's how it's going to be.
While the NHS is there, if you get badly, you get looked after. While if you lose your job, you get doled, don't you? Or what? Universal credit.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring in this, universal basic income, which is basically dole regardless of whatever. And it's like, well, every cunt's gonna naturally. It's human nature, innit? You're gonna take the easiest route because that's what survival's sort of about, you know, in a lot of ways. But they don't realise that it's being put there to make us soft and use us. You seen that film Wall-E? It's not a film, it's like a cartoon.
No.
But like a CGI thing. What do you call it? An animation. And basically it's about this little robot that lives at the end of the world or whatever. And it gets there. It's the only thing there, do you know? But it goes into a spaceship and all the humans are like just fat sacks of shit that just have to float about on these like floating wheelchairs.
Oh yeah.
But they've had technology for such a long time on that level that they can't walk by themselves.
They're all limp.
Yeah, of course they are, and that's a good analogy for
real good at computer games.
Yeah, and real good at computer games and that, like tell you everything about fucking comics and that. Go on, man, tell you everything about comics. What's that about? Well, I know what that's about actually.
So what we're trying to say is, all these systems they're putting in place are just to weaken us, aren't they?
Comfort is bad.
Like, how do you think it'd go now, for example? How do you think it'd go now with the current situation? We're in this pandemic, whatever they're calling it, yeah? How do you think it'd go if they was making you sit at home and saying, you're not getting no fair law now, your bills are mounting up, this, that and the other, you might lose your house.
There's no collective.
How do you think it'd go though?
Well, listen, I've always said individual liberalism. We're individuals. We'll live as individuals. We'll die as individuals. We'll die on a road. Do you know what I mean? And that's how it is. Like, how many people's houses now can you go across? Who can go across the road now and say, with great confidence that it'll happen and they won't look at you funny? Can I have a cup of sugar or whatever? You hear like your grandparents talk about it, like back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Because they all had things to rally around.
It's all being bred out now, isn't it?
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher was a big part of that, and Edward Heath, I think in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Sorry, no, 70s and 80s. Edward Heath, the nonce. Do you know what I mean? he was a big part of that, joining the European Economic Community and that. And it's all to do with like creating a global elite. Do you know, like this is globalism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like it's global. So we're all for every cunt and everyone, and it's like, well, you can be for everyone but not be a soft cunt at the same time. You can be. I'm literally for people that I admire and respect. Like Hull's got a big Kurdish population on it. I've got a lot of time for the Kurds because I see them as like a warrior people.
I love the Kurds,
yeah,
mate.
exactly. I'm
And I shouldn't, in theory, the upbringing I've had.
yeah, of course, yeah, fully.
You know.
Half Ottoman. Do you know what I mean? But it's like the Kurdish people. You can see like a
Solidarity.
Similar, yeah, of course. You can see a similar sort of way to what our ancestors were.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, that's what English people were like, and it doesn't have to. And we're so subverted now. We're so like.
Well, that change has only been over the past 5 decades, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course it has.
Since the 50s, 60s.
Yeah,
So.
I think maybe since the First World War, and since before the First World War and the Second World War finished it off, and I think the whole of Europe now is in like a psychological fucking psychosis. Do you know, from like massive wars though. Do you know if he was alive during them times? And in between the wars, you get Spanish flu. 18 million people died. 110 million people died from the 2 world wars. At least that's like a real conservative estimate. And now everyone's like, fucking hell, we can't be militant because we're gonna like everyone's gonna get culled again. And it's like, well, you can't be racist because that's Nazi. And it's like, listen, I personally think everyone's racist in a sense, and it don't mean you have to go around being a wanker because I definitely don't do that. And like I say, I genuinely have time for people of different cultures because I learn about the cultures, and I already know about a lot of the cultures because I'm interested anyhow. But you get all these people now that are all for like universal altruism, they call it, like as in like I'm for everybody, I'm a humanist, you know, all this shit, and it's just bullshit. And it's like, but they don't know fuck all about anybody. They're all for everybody, but they don't know the first thing about any cunt. They don't know about their own culture. All they know is the fucking shit that's peddled in universities and the shit that's peddled, do you know, from like the banking system, basically.
Do you think there's any substance though to that when people say it?
No,
It's
there's
just
none.
what they're
There's
spouting
none.
out the
There's
mouth.
literally none. It's because they want to seem like they are nasty people. They want to be because of what they've learned that's been subverted about our people 100 years ago, and it's been changed and that. And it's like, well, slavery. Like, I won't never keep a slave. I won't never want to be a slave master. I won't never turn a blind eye to like slavery. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, well, you've got to look at it for what it is, and it's like slavery now. It's like it happens. It's going on in Libya, but it gets censored. But if the people that are brave enough to look can see, do you know, they can find these things. Do you know the videos I've seen of people in Libya since Gaddafi got took down? Why did Gaddafi get took down? Because he wanted to make the gold dinar, make his own money system, and it fucked over America and Israel because they haven't got actually any gold to back the currency with now. So then Africa's got lots of gold compared to us, and they would be miles better off if they had their own currency. So then what do? You get Al Qaeda and all these other people, you give them all brand new American weapons, and you send them to fucking Libya. You overthrow Gaddafi, probably the greatest leader, do you know, in the last 100 years. No, listen to me now. In our lifetimes, he's the greatest leader. I promise you. Muammar Gaddafi is the best. He's a nationalist. He's a socialist, and he's perfect. Do you know what I mean? His people loved him. They proper loved him. Do you know he could? Tell me now, which leader in the world could go out in the street without getting fucking shanked or shot or, do you know, unprotected? Gaddafi went out, do you know, in Libya, and you think of like North Africa, and you think must be quite rough in North Africa. He went out, do you know, like no fear, do you know what I mean, of his people, because he loved him, because he looked after him. And he was, like I say, he was an Arab nationalist, which, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not an Arab, but nationalism is universal. I can understand it, because it's like a passion for your people, it's not a hatred, do you know, like they make out now. And all
just wanting the best for your people, innit?
But all these people that are like, all for like this international socialism, and it's wrong, do you know? Because it's like internationalism is inherently capitalistic. It's like if you're global, the globe can get fucked over. like with all these vaccines and there's all this virus stuff. And it's like, if everyone was nationalist, and it's not to say that they'd hate each other, and not get on with each other, and not speak to each other at all, it just means that then maybe they won't have free movement and things like this. And then they'd look after the borders, say if there was a virus in France, you won't have the Channel Tunnel open, for example, or you won't be flying people in from the mainland continent, you know, to like wet fields, you know what I mean, and things like this. You'd sort of not look after, but you'd seek among your own population. 36,000 people last summer got turned down for farm work, you know, agricultural work, because it don't suit the globalist elites. And socialism don't understand this now. Modern socialism is wrong. Do you know, like, socialism is a broad thing, very broad thing. And it's like, socialism to me is like, if you're a nationalist, you love your country. If you're a socialist, you love your people. And it's like, socialism should be for your people. And it's like, that don't include bringing loads of people in from other countries. That includes, say, maybe as a nationalist and a socialist, I would say stop fighting wars with America and Israel, basically, so Israel can like have a hegemony over the Middle East. And then you're creating wars like to knock out Saddam. Look at what happened to Iraq. What's Iraq like now after Saddam? Where's? They're trying to do it to Syria. They did it to Gaddafi. They killed Gaddafi and Saddam. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, where are we going to war? Much just look, this don't get me wrong. Like, I love. Do you know what I mean? Any man that saves his country, I've got massive respect for. And that's slating the British Army or the British forces. But it's like, we don't need to be in them conflicts at all. I think we are by supporting America, we are like the main cause of it. It's like, why do people get displaced from these countries? Because we're bombing them. Us in America. A lot of it comes down to people being scared to be called racist. And that's like a big thing now, this racist thing, and it's like ramps on everyone, isn't it?
Oh, you're ostracised, aren't you, just for...
Oh, yeah, 100%. If you say anything, basically, if you can't keep up with political correctness, right, is like a progression through time. It's like things that were sound to say now, things that are sound to say now, like saying now would say BAME or whatever, people like, if you're going to be like cut back, no one says BAME, but it's how to talk about politics, BAME and that. In 10 years' time, BAME will be politically incorrect to say, I promise you, and that's like the latest one. Do you know what I mean? Or in America they call them people of colour, persons of colour, because people, I don't know, it's too masculine. Do you know what I mean? So it's persons of colour. Do you know what I mean? Or do you know what I mean? Different places. In 10 years' time, they'll be politically incorrect terms to use, because it has to keep moving. This liberal fucking weird thing, and it's fucked. But like racism, what is racism really? It's like, well, people. Sure, in anthropology, ethnocentrism, and in group preference. So now you can be positively ethnocentric, whereby Stormzy, for example, wants to help young black kids go to university. That's positive ethnocentrism. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're in a country now that, bear in mind that working class British sort of ethnic British, when I say ethnic British, I mean the English, the Scots, the Irish, the Northern Irish, Scots and basically Irish, you know what I mean? You've got the Manx people, you've got the Cornish people, do you know, they're all ethnic Britons, do you know what I mean? Whether or not Anglo-Saxons or not, they're ethnically, they are the British ethnicities. And it's like, well, they're the people, they're the young'uns, them young'uns, you know, from that group are like the worst, you know, the worst off, you know, in terms of like, the perform the least and things like this, and the least privileged now, what they call privilege. And it's like, well, there was a fella that wanted to do the same thing what Stormzy did for young black kids, which, as a nationalist, I understand that Stormzy does that 100%. But you can't do that if you're an Englishman for English kids. And it's like in your own ancestral homeland, and it's like, well, why's that? Because you won't go anywhere else and say, these people complain about, they won't dream of fucking being that same way about any other group, just their own group. And that to me is the height of weakness.
Yeah, yeah.
It's massively weak. And it's like,
you won't get any of that in any other countries,
because they deny reality, man. Yeah, of course you won't. You just won't, apart from the West. And I think it's partly that psychological trauma from the two world wars. And then the rest of it's just subversion, I think. Do you know what I mean? Because they want to make us less. You hear it all the time. You might not hear it as, say, like an ethnic minority, but as an Englishman with a mixed heritage, like Irish heritage, you know what I mean? I'm British.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? But I would say I'm English.
Yeah.
As an Englishman, I don't want I worry, do you know, for my son. Do you know, he's growing up into a generation now that it's like, I get it with grown-ups. We need to sort of, maybe some of us need to pipe down a bit. But don't bring the kids up thinking that their people are inherently bad. All this white people shit, do you know, that you hear? And you hear it. And it's all ill-informed people with an agenda, do you know? Like, there's people like Afua Hirsch, she's a big one. King Andrews, he's like Professor of Black Studies at Birmingham.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I know I'm massively biased, but they believe in this sort of like sector Marxism. It's like it's not proper Marxism either. I agree with what Marx says. He complains about fucking capitalists fucking over the working people and all that. Karl Marx wasn't a bad guy in himself, but the people that call themselves Marxists now are trying to like instigate what he prophesies, or not prophesies, but he said this is going to happen naturally. You know, whereby the proletariat, like the working class, they'll take over the means of production, say from the bourgeoisie class, or they're like you upstarts. You know, a dickhead. Who's that one who owns Victoria Plumbing? Do you know, down south? Who's saying he's going to try and get everyone vaccinated?
Oh yeah.
Do you know the guy who looks like a cat because he's had that much fucking plastic surgery?
Yeah.
He's bourgeoisie, 100% through and through. And then you get them in the aristocracy. But yeah. So like, I agree with Marx in his critique of liberalism and things like this, and it's immoral and wrong and all this. But people now in today that say the Marxists are like trying to get that to happen. Do you know what I mean? And break down society. Because say no, some people believe if you break down society, then you can build anew from that. And I don't personally subscribe to that. I think that, you know, there's things that are eternal, you know, that have happened for long, like families, the family unit. Why have they got people? Why do you think people are like, women are taught to compete with men in the men's sphere?
It's all to fucking
Wage slaves and taxmen.
It's all turn everyone against each other into break.
It's create more waste money. That's the only money. The evil thing here. It's all money. Do you know? If you've got two adults in the same household earning, then you push the if you're at the top, because they're working for you and you're getting taxed off the cunts. It's like we've got more wage slaves, haven't you? I've seen things like documents and that, you know, from the Rockefeller Foundation, like where they literally
Everything that's going on is to break down society, innit?
100%.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know, it all leads back to this, doesn't it? It all leads back to.
It's the one group trying to be dominant. It's like with this group is a massive.
And it's all in our country. It's all going to plan, innit, for them, really.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a few years behind, but it's definitely going that way. And it's like, look, you look at Nicholas Kalergi, and you know he was mates with Churchill, and he was saying in the 20s that basically we have to all mix together and all this stuff. And like I think I said it before about Clement Attlee, if the race of the world mix together, there'll be no more wars and all this stuff. And it's like, well, these are all like Fabians and that Fabian society, Fabian society. It's like a society of socialists. You got a few famous people there. They believe in changing society so slow. That's the boiling frogs people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you boil a frog, it's meant to be. Say if you put a frog in hot water,
it'll jump straight out.
It'll jump straight out. Apparently so. It doesn't really matter if it's true, that analogy.
You get it though, don't you?
But the idea is if you put a frog in cold water and slowly bring it up to the boil, then the frog doesn't notice, and by the time it's getting that hot, it's paralysed. Do you know what I mean? And then it'll just boil eventually.
Yeah.
And it won't jump out.
That's basically what's happening.
That is the Fabian society all over. They're named after like Fabius Quintilis Maximus. Do you know the inventor of guerrilla warfare? So like aim run tactics. That's what they're named after. The badge is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
It's like thingy, Mike. It's like conspiracy theories, mate.
Yeah, but these people are like open to it, like, and then you get them, and then there's Tavistock there. That's getting towards what people would naturally think are conspiracy theories, but they're real, mate. They're not theories. They're so real. It's unreal.
But like all the silly ones that are pumped in.
Yeah, but they're, yeah. Fully, we talk about this, don't we?
We talk about all the time, you know.
Like lizard men and that.
A lot of it's pumped in, isn't it? Just to discredit.
It's not so much to discredit. I think it's to distract people. Do you know? Because you don't know whether you're coming or going there. Because everything's under the radar that they do, and they don't do it openly and up front and like honourably. They do it through like.
It's one of them, though, isn't it? It's like no disrespect to. Don't even like calling people idiots, really, but do you know idiots that believe in every conspiracy theory out there?
The lobby atheists.
And them that are sort of in society talking and telling people about them. It's sort of like
the distraction of
it
what's
muddies
really
the waters,
going on.
doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does. Do you know what I mean? 100%. And it's natural that people should distrust the agenda and like distrust the government because they've lied to them so much. But then the same people that are fucking us over are putting all these stories out. Do you know that? I believe
it's them pumping them out there, isn't it?
Of course it is. Definitely is. It's like no sane person believes that the Queen is a lizard, and it's like what I was saying earlier about esotericism. Like there's an esoteric thing, like where it's like metaphors and like old symbolism. Do you know like the eye? Do you know the eye of Freemasonry? It's like an esoteric symbol.
Yeah.
And it's meant to go back to the Ra and all this stuff, and it probably goes back before that. But it's a symbol that represents something as in like a godlike figure, like the all-knowing. But it's like this reptile thing. Do you know the Queen's a reptile and all this? And it's like, well, no, she's not.
But that's why people don't. They're idiots anyway for not being able to establish what's real and what ain't. Like people that are like, tinfoil hat people and that.
But some people are thick though. Thick people can't help it. Do you know, a lot of thick people don't realise how thick they are as well. That's in the Hagakure, the samurai book. The Bushido. Stupid people don't realise they're stupid, and if you surround yourself with stupid people, you are to be considered stupid yourself. But
that's why I'm a loner.
yeah. That samurai me. I feel, I don't know, maybe I think that we should try and lift up the stupid people.
They think you're a crank though, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do.
Like, what's he doing?
But they're conditioned. They're definitely conditioned.
Trying to help you, mate.
Innit? You've been conditioned to think that I'm a tosser. It's like, actually, I've got your best interests at heart.
What other ones is there? Let's just go over them.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, flat Earth, yeah.
That's another esoteric thing that's been literalised by people who actually, they don't have a religion, they're godless people, they're atheists, and they don't understand the esoteric sort of way of looking at things. It's like a spiritual way of talking about things.
Yeah.
So then, like, the Vikings then would have believed in a flat Earth, because you had Asgard.
Understandable at the time, though, isn't it?
And then you had Midgard, right, that was meant to be made out of the body of a giant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a fence all around, made of his eyebrows that kept everyone in.
Never.
Yeah, so then all the other giants used to come in from that fence, and then that's why Thor was there, to like go around battering them on the head.
Yeah.
To keep the giants at bay from the people of Midgard. And it's like, well, they're all esoteric things, they're not like literal. I don't think anyone believed that fucking actual, what is it called, the giant Grimnir, I think, or something like that. The one that they made the world out of.
Mm-hmm.
Like his skull was the mountains or something daft, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? His hair was the fields or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong that's paraphrasing, but in the Eddas, do you know what I mean? They believe the Earth's flat, I believe, by the way they talk about it. But then, if you look at the spirituality, it's flat, but it goes through, like, I think it's 9 layers. Where Yggdrasil, do you know that tree of life, the ash tree? It penetrates all 9 layers and holds the 9 layers of reality together. And it's like, well, but Earth in the mortal coil to them would have been flat, as far as we're concerned. And there was the Midgard like serpent that went round Midgard and it ate anyone that fell off. So it's like, that's esoteric to me. It's like, yeah, it's like people don't understand it because they're not religious. They don't understand you can have like religious metaphors for like reality.
Well, yeah.
And that, I think that's where a lot of confusion comes from. And like you said, you know what I mean? It all gets put in there from the same people that want to confuse us. And it all comes from the financial system. These people that want to confuse us are all like stand to gain something from it. They're all Freemasons and Zionists. Theodor Herzl. Theodor Herzl was a bit of a cunt. Everything's crippled. You know, look at how many years did Brexit take?
It was about 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Parliament now, this parliamentary system is out of date now. You get about 2 or 3 big bills for a year. One of the big bills takes 3 years. But they've all got these massive manifestos that, well, people say, oh, it's the best Labour manifesto I've seen. And it's like, but realistically, if it takes 3 years to get Brexit through, after a mandate from the people, they want to leave the European Union. Doesn't matter how educated they are, they've had a vote, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
They want to remain sovereign. Doesn't matter what do you know what I mean, not nuances they know about the European Union and that. I personally am against being part of a federal Europe. But say like Jeremy Corbyn and that, it'd be all for it and free movement and open borders, but I've got massive respect for him because he'll stand up to, do you know, Israel fucking ramping on poor little Palestinians, you know what I mean? And they do ramp on them. They shoot like we use burning phosphorus and the Germans use it against us, and it like burns like 2,000 degrees. And I've read like first-hand accounts of D-Day from the German perspective. It like burrows into you. Say if a blob of it touches you, like solder or welding,
Yeah.
it'll burrow into you and it'll set like your bones and your stomach on fire. You set your insides on fire.
Never.
But this, we haven't used this since, well, as far as I'm aware, do you know, like the Second World War. But Israel used it against Palestine to clear land so that they can settle it. But then
It's pure savagery, innit?
it is, of course it is. But then that's all. A lot of that comes from like the Treaty of Versailles and the Treaty of Sèvres after the First
No
World
one's
War.
really interested in that though, unless they
Don't
live
give a
there,
fuck,
are they?
They're all watching Love Island and renting hot tubs, you know, for the garden.
No one's bothered unless it's on your
Yeah,
doorstep,
they're all
are
getting
they?
loose BMWs and shit. And the trendiest dog, do you know what I mean? That's what they're all interested in, because they're all individuals. And they'll die getting the trendiest dog. You'll get your trendiest dog, and your BMW on lease, you'll get murdered, no one will stick up for you. But that's the nature of individualism. It stops us fighting back against the powers that be.
It's like this cashless thing that's coming in now.
Yeah.
Like that's coming in it.
100%.
Did you know that contactless has been? I know it sounds a bit daft now, but contactless is up to 100 quid now. It was 30 quid
It's
before.
like 20 quid, I remember, yeah.
It's up to £100 now.
It's retarded that. But like, say now, it's what they call fiat currency, innit? So it's like, it don't have, say pound sterling now, even the coins, let alone the notes, they're not worth anything in a real life survival situation.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Pound coins and that, what are they made out of?
Copper, nickel, and some mad alloys, they're not made out like gold or silver.
That's what I mean.
No.
So barring, we use them as a currency now, but say like currency
that's
disappears,
fiat
they're not
currency.
worth now, are they?
It's got no intrinsic value on its own.
Yeah,
Do you know, outside the monetary system,
yeah.
it's got no value. It's just a bit of metal. Whereas gold and silver have always had value, even though it fluctuates and it can be manipulated as well.
Yeah.
But it's all, you take it outside the monetary system, people value gold, people value silver. Do you know
What do you think to
They always have.
what do you think to Bill Gates, the lizard?
I think he's a bastard, me. Listen to this. He started off with Microsoft, didn't he?
Yeah.
He used to make viruses for Microsoft, so
Yeah.
he could sell people the antivirus
Yeah. So
on computers.
yeah.
What's he doing now?
Well, you tell me. What was we speaking about?
Well,
We had this the other day.
He's buying up all the farmland in America now.
Yeah.
So, why is Bill Gates? Think about it. He was a criminal, sort of borderline criminal. Well, he was a criminal in my eyes, but legally he sort of like got away with it. He escaped prison. He's like criminal in the way that he was monopolising the market. So I don't know the details, but this is in the 90s. Then he made the Bill and Belinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
And pardon me, apparently 100 billion or 100 million he invested into it, and then he's gone about like being some sort of philanthropist type, whereby he's got like
they all do that, don't they?
Yeah. Well, you would do if you have money. You can make yourself out to be whatever, but
image.
Yeah, of course it's to get himself a nice image, and then he started like investing in vaccines and that, and there's this one thing, and you can find it on the internet, and it's him talking about how much money he made off vaccines about 10 years ago. This was £200 billion return. So then he's thinking, well, if I've got the now to manufacture a virus, that if I get everyone vaccinated, and he's always talked about culling the population as well, which, do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a juxtaposition, because I do think there's so many humans on the planet. We're obviously killing the natural world, aren't we? And
yeah, you seen that David Attenborough?
I ain't seen that, no. But without that, do you know what I mean? It's obvious. We're killing the natural world. But you could do it in other ways, couldn't you? Stop letting people live till fucking 100. Do you know, not letting them live, but like antibiotics would kill a lot of people off. Do you know if I want to go I need to piss me, brother.